My name is Elodie Westbrook, and I'm sitting in a hotel room in downtown Las Vegas, staring at 47 unread messages from my family. All of them arrived after the ceremony ended. Not one came before. The stylist just left. My hair is pinned in an elegant updo I'll never be able to recreate. The navy evening gown. Vivian insisted on navy, not black. Said I was celebrating, not mourning. Fits like it was made for someone more important than me. In the mirror, I look like a version of myself I barely recognize. Someone people might actually stop and stare at for a moment before moving on. Downstairs, cameras are waiting. So is a medal with my name engraved on it. So are 300 people who will watch me walk across a stage while my family screams along to a band they've been talking about for 6 months. They don't know yet. They don't know what they missed or what's about to happen, or how badly this night is going to ruin their perfectly curated lives. But before I tell you about the moment I watched everything fall apart on a giant screen above their heads, you need to understand how I became invisible in the first place. 10. The Westbrook family looked normal on paper. Father who worked hard, mother who taught elementary school, 3 kids spaced out enough to avoid constant warfare. We lived in a quiet neighborhood 20 minutes from the Strip, where the sound of slot machines never quite reached our windows. On paper, we were fine. In reality, our roles were carved in stone before I was old enough to question them. Landon Westbrook, my father, managed mid-level operations at one of the older casino resorts. 60-hour weeks, late nights, the kind of schedule that meant he was always tired and rarely present. When he came home, he wanted highlights, not details. He wanted to hear about wins, not process. Cecilia Westbrook, my mother, taught 2nd grade and fancied herself the family peacemaker. She had a gift for smoothing over conflict by pretending it didn't exist. If you were upset, she'd remind you how much worse other people had it. If you complained, she'd tell you that understanding and patience were virtues. She loved us all, I think, but she loved ease more. Blair Westbrook, my older sister, was the sun we all orbited. 3 years older, former pageant queen, current influencer with 80K Instagram followers, and a side business planning events for people with more money than taste. Blair didn't walk into rooms. She arrived. Every story she told came with hand gestures and voice changes. Every problem she had became the family's urgent priority. Mason Westbrook, my younger brother, was 19 and in his 2nd year at UNLV. The baby, the golden boy, the one who never had to try too hard because his charm did the work for him. He floated through life on jokes and last-minute effort, and somehow it always worked out. Then there was me. I was the kid who handled things. The one teachers never worried about. The one who fixed the router when the internet went down. Who remembered to put permission slips on the table, who called the dentist to reschedule appointments my parents forgot. I was reliable, functional, easy. My mother used to joke that she had a star, a comedian, and a helper. She never meant it to be cruel, but it told you everything you needed to know about where I stood. It started small, the way neglect always does. I'd be excited about a science project, ready to explain the hypothesis I'd spent weeks testing, and my father would nod while scrolling through his phone. Then he'd turn to Blair and ask about her pageant rehearsal with genuine interest lighting up his face. I'd mention something from class, and my mother would say, "That's nice, honey," in the same tone she used for telemarketers. Then Corey would crack a joke and everyone would laugh, and the moment would pass. When I was 12, I won the state science fair. My project on water purification using desert plants beat out 200 other entries. I came home with a trophy taller than my torso and a scholarship offer to a summer program at UCLA. My parents missed the award ceremony because Blair had a pageant dress fitting that couldn't be rescheduled. When I got home, they looked at the trophy and said, "Wow, that's great, Elle." Then my mother asked if I could help her hem Blair's gown for regionals. I learned something that day. My accomplishments were scenery in someone else's story. By high school, I stopped trying to compete. Blair had the stage. Mason had the charm. I had the things no one wanted to talk about at dinner parties. Good grades, difficult problems solved, a future that looked solid, but not exciting. I became the person who made everything run smoothly, and the better I got at it, the less they looked directly at me. They loved the results, not the person producing them. They saw a reliable function, not a daughter with her own life. When I got into MIT, I told them at breakfast on a Tuesday. My father said, "That's in Boston, right? Pretty far." My mother said, "Are you sure you want to go so far away? We'll miss you." What she meant was, who's going to keep things running here? Blair said, "Congratulations," without looking up from her phone. Mason said, "Cool." I left for Boston 2 months later and felt nothing but relief. I didn't come back to Las Vegas because I missed my family. I came back because Dr. Vivian Torres called me 3 weeks before graduation and offered me something I'd never had before, a place where I mattered. Vivian was the director of the Clark County Emergency Response Innovation Lab, a small team buried in a government building downtown that most people didn't know existed. They built systems that saved lives in the gaps between 911 calls and ambulances arriving. Their work was invisible, essential, and exactly the kind of problem I'd spent 4 years at MIT learning to solve. "I read your thesis on predictive routing algorithms," Vivian said on that call. "We need someone who thinks like you, someone who understands that seconds matter." I accepted before she finished the pitch. The project that changed everything started small. We called it APEX, Automated Priority Emergency X Routing. The idea was simple. What if we could make ambulances smarter? Las Vegas is a nightmare for emergency response. The Strip is always clogged with tourists. Weekend nights turn Fremont Street into a pedestrian river. Desert dust storms kill visibility on the highways. Casino incidents spike during conventions. Domestic calls cluster in certain neighborhoods at certain times. Dispatchers did their best, but they were working with gut instinct and outdated maps. Apex was supposed to change that. I spent 18 months building the core engine. It pulled data from everywhere: traffic cameras, hospital ER capacity, historical call patterns, weather sensors, even concert and sports schedules. Then it crunched all of that in real time and told dispatchers exactly which crew to send where and which route to take. The math was elegant. The impact was everything. 3 months after we went live, a 67-year-old woman named Dorothy had a stroke on Fremont Street during a Friday night concert. Under the old system, the nearest ambulance would have taken 12 minutes to push through the crowd. Apex rerouted a crew from 2 miles away that was already moving, got them there in 4 minutes, and Dorothy walked out of the hospital 2 weeks later with minimal brain damage. A dispatcher named Nina Rodriguez called me crying after that shift. She said, "I watched the timer tick down and I thought we were going to lose her. Then your system put a pin on my screen and I just trusted it. She's alive because of you." I didn't know what to say to that. Over the next 18 months, Apex handled 2,847 emergency calls. Average response time dropped by 3 minutes and 14 seconds. We documented 47 cases where that time difference was the gap between life and death. 47 people who went home to their families because I taught a computer to think faster than panic. My team knew what we'd built. Vivian knew. The dispatchers knew. My family had no idea I was doing any of it. At Thanksgiving, when my father asked what I'd been working on, I said, "Emergency response systems." He said, "Sounds technical," and turned to ask Mason about his intramural basketball season. At Christmas, my mother asked if my job was stressful. I said it could be. She said, "Well, you've always been good under pressure," and then spent 20 minutes talking about Blair's new sponsorship deal with a wellness brand. I told myself I didn't need their approval. I told myself the work was enough. I almost believed it. The email arrived on a Tuesday afternoon while I was debugging a routing error that had been bothering me for 3 days. The subject line said, "National Association of Emergency Services, Urgent Response Required." I almost deleted it as spam. Instead, I opened it and read the same sentence 4 times before my brain accepted what it said. "You have been selected as a recipient of the Ashford Medal for Public Safety Innovation." I walked to Vivian's office in a daze. She took one look at my face and closed the door. "They called me yesterday," she said quietly. "I wanted to tell you but they made me wait for the official notification. "What is this?" I asked. "It's the Pulitzer of Public Safety. They give out 3 a year nationwide. You're one of them." I sat down before my legs gave out. The Ashford Medal wasn't a plaque you hung in a break room. It was a federal honor. It came with a ceremony attended by mayors and governors. It came with media coverage and career opportunities, and a moment of recognition that couldn't be minimized or brushed aside. For the first time in my life, I had something my family couldn't politely ignore. The invitation packet arrived 3 days later. Formal wear requested. Guests permitted, up to 4. The ceremony would be held at the Belmont Grand Hotel downtown. It would be filmed and broadcast on C-SPAN, local Vegas stations, and streamed live on vegasnow.com. There would be billboards around the city advertising the event. My name would be everywhere, whether my family cared or not. I stared at that guest line for a long time. You may invite up to 4 family members or friends. I could picture the empty seats. I could picture my parents under neon lights somewhere, completely unaware. I could picture another holiday dinner where someone asked what I'd been up to, and I'd say work stuff, and they'd nod without follow-up questions. Part of me wanted to keep the whole thing to myself, to let this moment be mine alone, unspoiled by their indifference. Another part, the smallest, angriest part, wanted them to see it, wanted them to make a choice in writing that I could point to later. I opened our family group chat. I typed carefully, editing 3 times before I sent it. "I've been invited to receive a national award on November 18th. Ceremony is at the Belmont Grand Hotel, 6 p.m. formal wear. It would mean a lot if you could come. Let me know by Friday if you're available. I have 4 guest seats." I hit send before I could make it smaller. The typing bubbles appeared almost immediately. Blair answered first, 4 minutes later. "OMG, another work thing. Babe, I literally have tickets to see Eden at the Sphere that night. It's been sold out for months. Can't you record it or something? Proud of you, though." I read it twice. The words didn't change. 20 minutes passed. Then my mother's response appeared. "Honey, that's wonderful. What kind of award is it exactly? Your father and I were planning to take Mason to dinner that night for making Dean's List. Could we maybe do brunch the day after instead? We could celebrate both of you." An hour later, my father, "Elle, that's great news. Quick question. Is this the kind of thing where they hand out a lot of awards? I only ask because I used to go to those company recognition dinners and they'd give out 50 plaques. Don't want to get dressed up if it's just a participation trophy situation. No offense." 6 hours later, Mason, "You congrats, sis. Angle, I got plans, but if I can swing by after, I will." He didn't ask what the award was for. He didn't ask what I'd done to earn it. I sat at my kitchen table and watched the ice melt in my water glass. I thought about explaining. I thought about telling them this wasn't a participation trophy. I thought about describing Dorothy and the 47 others, and the system that proved I wasn't just helpful. I was essential. Instead, I typed 2 words. No problem. Then I put my phone face down and didn't pick it up for the rest of the night. That decision changed everything. Because while they were choosing concerts and dinners and whatever plans Mason had that were more important than me, I was choosing something too. I was choosing to let them miss it. I was choosing to walk onto that stage alone. And I was choosing to make sure that when they finally realized what they'd done, the whole city would be watching. Timeline A. Elodie. 4:00 p.m. The hotel room smelled like hairspray and expensive fabric. I stood in front of the full-length mirror while the stylist Nina had hired, a woman named Jordan with tattoos running up both arms, made final adjustments to my dress. "Stop fidgeting," Jordan said. She pinned the last fold of navy fabric into place. "You're going on television. We're doing this right." The dress had cost more than my monthly car payment. My hair was swept up in a way that required engineering I'd never master. The only familiar thing was the MIT class ring on my right hand. My phone sat on the dresser, screen dark. No new messages in the family chat. Jordan stepped back. "You're going to kill this." Whoever didn't show up is going to regret it for the rest of their lives. My phone buzzed. James, we're here. Saved you a seat. You're going to be amazing. Not my family. Never my family. I took one last look in the mirror. The woman looking back was someone my family wouldn't recognize. Maybe that was the point. Timeline. B. The Westbrooks. 4:00 p.m. Blair stood in front of her bathroom mirror, filming her makeup routine for Instagram stories. So we're doing a glowy look tonight because we're seeing Eden at the Sphere, she narrated, blending highlighter. I've been waiting 6 months for this show. In the living room, Cecilia was helping Mason pick a shirt for his Dean's List dinner. Landon sat on the couch, half watching football, half reading work emails. Blair's friends, Tessa and Madison, arrived in a cloud of perfume and excitement. Is everyone ready? Blair asked, checking her reflection. I want to get good seats. Wait, Tessa said. Isn't tonight your sister's thing? Blair's smile tightened. She has some work award, but she does those all the time. It's not a big deal. Did you tell her you couldn't make it? Yeah, she was totally cool with it. Elle's not really a ceremony person anyway. In the kitchen, Cecilia paused while ironing Mason's shirt. She picked up her phone and read Elodie's invitation again. She started typing. Sweetheart, are you sure you don't mind? She stared at the words for 30 seconds. Then she deleted them and finished ironing. 5:30 p.m., I-15 southbound. Landon drove them toward the Strip. Traffic was thick but moving. The sun painted the desert sky orange and pink. Oh my God, look! Madison pointed out the window. A massive billboard loomed over the highway. Tonight, National Heroes Honored Live. Ashford Medal Ceremony, 6 p.m. Featuring Las Vegas's own Dr. Vivian Torres and team. 3 professional headshots filled the lower half. 2 strangers. And then, on the right, that lady looks like, Mason said, pulling out one earbud. Like half the professional women in Vegas, Blair cut in, but her voice was uncertain. Cecilia squinted. The name was in smaller print, hard to read from the highway. Torres, isn't that Elle's boss? Landon asked. Maybe, Cecilia said quietly. They drove past. The billboard disappeared. None of them suggested turning around. Meanwhile, Elodie, 5:45 p.m. I stood at the hotel window, looking down at the city. From 15 floors up, Las Vegas looked like a circuit board. Lights in precise patterns, traffic in predictable streams. James texted. Did you see the billboard on I-15? You look like a badass. I'd seen it. My face, 15 feet tall, visible from half a mile away. The highway that led directly to the Sphere. The highway my family would take. I wondered if they'd driven past it. I wondered if they'd seen my name and kept driving anyway. Nina texted. We're in the ballroom. Holy shit, Elle. There are cameras everywhere. I picked up my clutch and headed for the elevator. 6:09 p.m. Belmont Grand Hotel Ballroom. The ballroom was massive. Round tables filled the floor. A stage ran along the far wall. Above everything, 3 screens hung like extra walls, dark but waiting. I found my table. Vivian was already there in a black suit. James sat next to her, nervous in a tie he kept adjusting. Nina waved from across the table. The chair next to James had a place card. Guest of Elodie Westbrook. James saw me looking. Without a word, he picked it up and slipped it into his jacket pocket. Thanks, I said quietly. They're idiots, he said. Vivian squeezed my hand. How are you feeling? Terrified. Good. That means it matters. The lights dimmed. Mayor Patricia Thornton took the stage. She talked about service, sacrifice, invisible work. I heard maybe half of it. The other half of my brain was stuck. They're at a concert. They chose a concert. The first 2 awards went by in a blur. A firefighter from Sacramento, a paramedic from Houston. Both had families in the front rows, crying and cheering. Then it was our category. The screen went dark. A new video began. Dashboard camera footage. The view from inside an ambulance racing through Vegas streets. A dispatcher's voice. Unit 12, Priority 1, female, mid-60s, stroke symptoms. Maps with moving dots. Satellite images of Las Vegas at night, the strip glowing like gold. A narrator. In cities like Las Vegas, where every second counts, traditional emergency response systems often struggle. The video cut to Nina at her console. We used to rely on gut instinct. Now we have Apex. It thinks faster than we can, and it saves lives. Statistics flashed. Response time graphs. The number 47 appeared in bold. Lives directly saved. Then my face filled the screen. Footage from the lab. Me at my workstation. The narrator. The mind behind Apex is Elodie Westbrook, a Las Vegas native who returned home after MIT to build a system that has fundamentally changed emergency services. The video ended. Applause erupted. The host returned to the podium. Our next recipient developed a routing system that has shortened response times by over 3 minutes. In emergency medicine, that's a lifetime. In 18 months, her work has saved 47 lives. He looked up. Please welcome Elodie Westbrook. The walk to the stage felt like swimming through thick air. Lights erased the crowd. Cameras tracked my movement. Somewhere this was being broadcast live. The host handed me a plaque. Glass and metal, heavier than it looked. A photographer captured the moment. I stepped to the microphone. I'd written notes. 3 pages. I'd left them in my hotel room. I almost didn't come tonight, I said. The ballroom went quiet. Not because I don't value this honor, but for a long time I didn't think my work mattered unless someone I loved told me it did. I could see Vivian perfectly still. Then I met dispatchers who remembered the relief in a caller's voice. I met EMTs who told me about the grandmother they reached in time. I met Dr. Torres, who told me that mattering doesn't require an audience. It requires showing up. My voice cracked. I steadied it. So I'm here. And I'm grateful. Not just for this medal, but for learning that the people who really see you don't need a spotlight. They show up in quiet moments. They show up when no one's watching. They show up because they care, not because it looks good. I gripped the plaque tighter. To everyone who showed up for me, thank you. I didn't say, to my family who chose a concert, I hope you're having fun. I didn't have to. The cameras caught everything. "7:15 p.m. Sphere venue. Blair was on her 3rd drink, swaying to the pre-show DJ. The Sphere's interior screen showed swirling abstract visuals. 2 sections over, Landon and Cecilia sat with Mason at a high-top table. They'd finished Mason's celebration dinner early and decided to walk around before heading home. Then the Sphere's screens went dark. The music cut out. A logo appeared. Vegas Now special report groans rippled through the crowd. No one wanted commercials. The Vegas Now logo dissolved. A polished anchor appeared, his face 50 feet tall. Tonight in downtown Las Vegas, 3 American heroes were honored at the annual Ashford Medal Ceremony. Blair wasn't paying attention. She was trying to order another drink. The screen showed quick cuts. The ballroom, the mayor, American flags, the gold medal seal. Then the recipients. The firefighter. 30 seconds. The paramedic. 30 seconds. Then, our 3rd recipient is a Las Vegas native whose work has transformed emergency response. Footage of ambulances. Dispatch centers. Then, my face. Walking across the stage. Taking the plaque. At the microphone. Mason saw it first. Holy shit! Cecilia's hand flew to her mouth. Landon just stared. Across the venue, Madison grabbed Blair's arm. Blair, look. Blair turned. On every screen in the Sphere, hundreds of LED panels, impossible to miss, was her sister. My voice filled the venue. People who really see you don't need a spotlight. A chyron appeared. Elodie Westbrook, Emergency Systems Engineer, Las Vegas, Nevada. Her Apex system has reduced response times by 34%, saving 47 lives. The crowd started paying attention. This was local. Someone near Blair said, "Wait, that's the Apex thing? My uncle's life was saved by that." The woman next to Cecilia turned. "Are you from Las Vegas? Do you know her?" Cecilia couldn't speak. The man behind Landon was filming the screen. "My cousin works emergency services. They won't shut up about this system. This woman's a genius." On screen, I finished my speech. Thunderous applause. The anchor returned. Westbrook, who graduated from MIT, has become a model for young women in STEM and a source of hometown pride. Mason's phone exploded. Texts from friends. "Dude, your sister is on the Sphere screens." "Bro, is that Elodie?" Tessa stared at Blair. "You said she does these all the time." Blair's face went pale. "I didn't know it was..." Madison was scrolling. "Blair, it's trending. Ashford Medal, #Vegas Hero. Elodie Westbrook is trending." The broadcast ended. The Sphere's normal programming resumed, but no one at the Westbrook tables was watching. They were staring at their phones as the world told them what they should have known. 7:20 p.m. Mason opened Twitter. Trending in Las Vegas. 1 Eden 2, Ashford Medal 3. Elodie Westbrook. He clicked Elodie Westbrook. Videos of people recording the Sphere broadcast. Reactions. Praise. Watching Ashford Medal on the Sphere screens was not on my bingo card, but Elodie Westbrook is a legend. Some influencer behind me had no idea her sister was about to be on every screen in Vegas. That tweet had 4,000 likes. Landon's phone rang. His boss. He declined it. Text messages flooded in. "Saw your daughter on TV. You must be so proud. Couldn't spot you in the crowd, though. Why didn't you mention this?" Cecilia's phone was worse. Her principal. "Saw Elodie. Are you at the ceremony?" Her neighbor. "Watching the broadcast. Where are you sitting?" Every message was a knife. Blair pulled up Instagram. Her story from earlier. "Sphere night," had comments. "Isn't tonight your sister's award ceremony?" "Your sister saved 47 lives and you're here?" "Interesting priorities." She deleted the story with shaking hands. Too late. Madison showed her phone. "Someone screenshotted it. It's being shared." Cecilia stood. "We need to go. Get to the hotel." "The ceremony's over, Mom," Mason said quietly. "It was live. We missed it." Landon was staring at his phone. A reporter had called. He played the voicemail on speaker. "Mr. Westbrook, this is Jennifer Price from the Review-Journal. We're doing a piece on Elodie Westbrook. We'd love a comment from her family. Please call back." Silence. "What do we do?" Blair whispered. Landon said, "We go to the hotel. We find her. We apologize." "She won't want to see us," Mason said. "I don't care," Cecilia said, voice breaking. "She's our daughter. We go." They pushed through the crowd, leaving their expensive seats behind. Around them, strangers talked about the local hero, about Elodie Westbrook, who'd saved 47 lives, the woman whose family hadn't bothered to show up. 7:45 p.m. In the car. Landon drove fast, weaving through traffic. Cecilia kept calling Elodie, straight to voicemail. "Her phone's off," Cecilia said, "or she blocked us." Mason sat in back, scrolling with an expression like watching a car crash. "What?" Landon demanded. "Someone leaked the family chat." Silence. "What?" Cecilia asked. Mason turned his phone around. There, screenshotted on Twitter, was their conversation from 2 weeks ago. Elodie's invitation. Blair's OMG another work thing? Cecilia's. Could we do brunch instead? Landon's. Don't want to get dressed up if it's just a participation trophy. No offense. All of it. The tweet had 12,000 retweets. Comments. Another work thing. She won a national medal. Participation trophy. Unbelievable. This family is going to regret this forever. Who would... Blair started. Does it matter? Mason said. Everyone knows. Blair's phone showed she'd lost 300 followers in 20 minutes. A brand messaged. Pausing our partnership pending review. Her career was tanking in real time. "This is a nightmare," she whispered. "No," Mason said. "A nightmare is what we did to Elle. This is just everyone else noticing." Cecilia started crying. Landon just drove. 8:00 p.m. Belmont Grand Hotel. The ceremony had ended. The ballroom had emptied into a champagne reception. Jazz played. People networked. I stood near a window talking with Governor Richards about expanding Apex statewide. The scalability alone is remarkable. "Elodie!" The voice cut through everything. I turned. My family was at security. Cecilia arguing with the guard. Landon disheveled. Blair still in her sphere dress. "I'm sorry," I said to the governor. "Excuse me." Vivian appeared at my elbow. "Want me to handle this?" "No, I've got it." At the security desk, "Ma'am, she marked her guest list as declined," the guard was saying. "Without clearance, we're her family," Cecilia said desperately. I reached them. "It's fine. Let them in." The guard looked uncertain. "Protocol." "It's fine." He stepped aside. Cecilia reached for me. I stepped back. "Not here. Follow me." I led them to a quiet corner, far enough from the reception, close enough I could leave. Vivian stood 10 feet away, arms crossed, watching. "Elle, we're so sorry," Cecilia started. "We didn't realize." "What didn't you realize?" My voice was calm, too calm. "That I matter? That I've been doing important work." "We know you do important work." "No, you don't. You've never asked. Not once in 3 years have you asked what I'm working on." Landon stepped forward. "That's not fair. We've always been proud." "When? Give me one example. One time you showed up for me. One time you chose me over Blair or Mason." Silence. "That's what I thought." "Elle, please." Cecilia's voice broke. "We made a mistake. You made a choice. I sent an invitation 2 weeks ago. Every single one of you chose something else." "We didn't know it would be televised," Blair said. "We didn't know it was a big deal. That's the problem. You didn't ask. You assumed everything I do is small and forgettable." "That's not," Landon started. "Dad, you asked if it was a participation trophy. Those were your words." He flinched. I turned to Cecilia. "And you wanted brunch instead. Because Mason made Dean's List, which he does every semester, and apparently that's worth dinner, but my national award could wait." "Honey, don't." I held up a hand. "Not after 23 years. Mason spoke. "Elle, we fucked up. But we're here now. 2 hours late. After the ceremony. After you saw me on screens and realized everyone else knew I was important before you did." His face went red. "You came because you're embarrassed. Because everyone knows what you are." "And what's that?" Blair asked, defensive. "People who only see me when there's a spotlight forcing you to look." The words hung in the air. Vivian stepped closer. "Do you know what Elodie did after she sent that invitation?" she asked quietly. "She came to my office and cried. Not because you said no, she expected that. She cried because some small part of her still hoped you'd change your minds." Cecilia made a wounded sound. "Do you know what she did tonight? She gave a speech about not needing validation from people who can't see her. She meant you." "Dr. Torres," Landon said, "we understand we hurt her." "No, you don't. If you did, you wouldn't be here making excuses." "That's enough," I said quietly. Vivian stepped back. I faced my family. "Here's what's happening. You're leaving. I'm going back to my colleagues, the people who were actually here, and we're pretending this gave you closure." "Elodie, please." Cecilia reached for me. I stepped back. When I walked onto that stage, I looked at the empty seat next to James. Want to know what I felt? They waited. "Relief," Cecilia gasped. "Relief that you weren't there, because the people who were, they've seen me at 3 a.m. They've brought me coffee. They've called me brilliant without needing a medal first." "We care about you," Landon said desperately. "Then where were you? Where were you at MIT graduation? When I moved across the country?" Every time I tried to tell you about my work and you changed the subject, no one answered. You didn't miss my ceremony. You've been missing me since I was 12. Tonight was just when everyone else noticed. I picked up my clutch. Please leave. I have people waiting, people who actually want to be here. I walked away. Behind me, Cecilia crying. Landon saying something urgent. Blair's heels clicking on marble. I didn't turn around. Vivian caught up. You okay? No, I said, but I will be. Come on, James is about to make an embarrassing toast. I followed her back into warmth and light and people who'd chosen to be there. The doors closed. My family was gone. And for the first time in my life, I could breathe. 3 days later, Wednesday morning, I was back at work trying to focus on Apex 2.0's deployment timeline when my phone rang. Unknown number with a Las Vegas area code. Elodie Westbrook, I answered. Ms. Westbrook, this is Madison Price from the Las Vegas Sun. I'm working on a feature about local heroes, and I'd love to talk about your work with Apex. I'd gotten a dozen of these calls. I had a script ready. I appreciate the interest, but I'm not doing interviews right now. If you'd like information about the project, I can connect you with our communications team. I'm also looking into the family dynamics surrounding the ceremony, she said. Specifically, the pattern of neglect that led to your family's absence. My hand tightened on the phone. I'm not interested in that angle. I understand, but I've been reviewing public records. Your sister's social media going back 5 years. Your mother's proud teacher posts that never mention you. Your father's LinkedIn that lists his children's accomplishments, except yours. The pattern is consistent and documented. That's my private life. It became public when the group chat leaked, Madison said not unkindly. Look, I can write this story with or without your input. I'd prefer to be fair. Give you a chance to tell your side. My side is that I don't want a side. I want to be left alone. The Westbrooks are giving interviews, she said. Your father talked to Channel 8 yesterday about how proud he's always been. Your mother posted a throwback photo on Facebook with a long caption about always knowing you'd change the world. Your sister posted an Instagram carousel yesterday. Sister appreciation post. My stomach turned. When were these posted? All within the last 48 hours. All after the ceremony. Of course they were trying to control the narrative. I'm still not interested, I said. That's your choice. But you should know, people are noticing the timeline. The complete silence about you before the medal, the sudden pride after. It's not playing well. After we hung up, I sat staring at my computer screen without seeing it. James appeared in my doorway. You okay? They're doing interviews, trying to spin it. Let them. Everyone saw the receipts. Nobody's buying it. But I pulled up my mother's Facebook anyway. There was the photo. Me at 8 years old, gap-toothed, holding a science fair ribbon. The caption was 3 paragraphs about my brilliant Elodie and always knowing she was destined for greatness, and so proud to be her mother. The comments were brutal. Where was this energy at the actual ceremony? Convenient timing. The group chat screenshots tell a different story. Blair's Instagram was worse. 5 photos of us as kids, carefully curated with a caption about always believing in my baby sister's dreams. The comments, you called it a stupid work thing. I closed the apps before I could see more. Madison's article dropped 2 days later. Headline, The medal her family almost missed. Inside Elodie Westbrook's solo triumph. It was thorough, almost clinical. She documented everything. The screenshots, the social media timeline, the sudden pivot to pride. She'd interviewed Vivian, who'd said Elodie achieved this despite her circumstances, not because of them. She'd interviewed Nina, who'd talked about finding me in the lab at 2 a.m., surviving on vending machine coffee, never mentioning family. And she'd included my statement, the only one I'd given. I'm grateful for my chosen family at the lab. They're the ones who showed up. The article went viral. NPR picked it up. The Washington Post ran a follow-up. Good Morning America requested an interview. But the real impact was local. Blair lost 3 major sponsorships in 1 week. Brands didn't want to be associated with the girl who'd skipped her sister's national honor for a concert. Cecilia's principal called her in. Parents were complaining. How could they trust their children to a teacher who'd failed her own daughter? Landon's boss suggested he take personal time. The optics weren't good. And I felt guilty. I hadn't wanted this. I'd just wanted to be left alone. But I'd shown the screenshots to James when I'd needed support, and he'd shared them with Nina, and someone had decided the world needed to see. You didn't do this to them, Vivian said when I confessed my guilt. They did it to themselves for 23 years. But that night, alone in my apartment, I wondered if I'd weaponized the media, if I'd wanted them to hurt the way they'd hurt me, if that made me just as bad. 2 weeks after the article, the letter arrived on a Saturday morning, handwritten, not typed. My mother's careful cursive on cream-colored stationery. Elodie, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for one conversation, not to fix anything, just to tell the truth. Red Rock Canyon Visitor Center, next Saturday, 8 a.m. I'll be there whether you come or not. Mom, I almost threw it away. Instead, I showed it to Vivian over coffee. You don't owe them anything, she said, but you might owe yourself closure. What if closure just means more pain? Then at least you'll know, and you can walk away knowing you tried. Saturday morning was cold for Vegas. The desert sunrise painted Red Rock Canyon in shades of amber and rust. I arrived first, bought coffee from the visitor center, and sat at an outdoor picnic table with my back to the mountains. They arrived together at 8:03, all 4 of them. Landon looked like he hadn't slept well in weeks. Cecilia's eyes were red-rimmed. Blair wore no makeup, her hair in a simple ponytail. Mason kept his hands in his pockets, shoulders hunched. They looked exhausted. Thanks for coming, Cecilia said quietly. I didn't respond, just waited. She sat across from me. The others stayed standing. I'm not here to apologize for the ceremony, she started. I'm here to apologize for every birthday where I asked you to help with Mason's party instead of celebrating you. Every school play where I gave Blair the video camera. Every time I said Elodie understands because you never complained. Her voice cracked. I made you invisible because it was easier than admitting I was raising 3 children and only really seeing 2. You asked Blair for one example of support. I've been trying to think of one for 2 weeks. I can't, and that's unforgivable. Landon sat down heavily. I told people at work you were low maintenance, like it was a compliment, like I was proud I didn't have to show up for you. He rubbed his face. Truth is, I was jealous. You're smarter than I'll ever be. You did something that actually matters, and I couldn't handle that my daughter outgrew me before she graduated high school. So I pretended you were just easier than facing that I'd stopped being your father when you stopped needing me to fix your bike. Blair sat next to him, crying silently. I saw you as competition, not a sister. Every time Mom praised you, I turned it into a threat. Every time you succeeded, I made it smaller so I could stay bigger. She wiped her eyes roughly. I chose that concert because if I admitted your award mattered, I'd have to admit you matter more than me. And I've built my entire identity on being the one people look at. Mason was the last to sit. I don't have an excuse like them. I just forgot about you. All the time. You were like furniture. Always there. Never noticed. His voice was thick. And the fucked up thing is, you raised me more than they did. You helped with homework. You drove me to practice. You bought my textbooks when they forgot. And I repaid you by forgetting you exist. Silence settled over the table. A hawk circled overhead. Cars pulled in and out of the parking lot. Life continued around us. I don't know what to do with this, I said finally. For 23 years, I wanted this. I wanted you to see me, to admit it. I looked at each of them. Now you have, and I don't feel better. I just feel tired. So what now? Landon asked. I don't know. The words came out hollow. I can't just forgive you because you finally feel bad, but I also can't keep being this angry. It's eating me alive. Cecilia leaned forward. What do you need from us? I thought for a long time. The sun climbed higher. My coffee went cold. Time, I said finally. Real time. Not 3 weeks until you decide we're better and go back to normal. I need you to prove this isn't just about the public embarrassment, that you'd want a relationship with me, even if no one was watching. I paused. And I need you to accept that I might choose not to let you back in, that this might be it, that these years might have broken something that can't be fixed. That's fair, Blair whispered. Is it? I looked at her. Because you're sitting here crying, but last week you were posting throwback photos for damage control. Which version is real? She flinched. Both. I'm sorry for the wrong reasons and the right ones. I'm sorry because I'm losing sponsorships, and I'm sorry because I lost you. And I don't know which one hurts more, and that makes me hate myself. It was the most honest thing she'd ever said to me. I can't promise I'll ever trust you again, I said to all of them. I can't promise family dinners and holidays and pretending this never happened. That version of us is gone. We know, Mason said. But maybe, I hesitated. Maybe we can try something new, something where I'm not invisible, where I set the boundaries, where I can walk away if it doesn't work. We'll take it, Cecilia said. Whatever you're willing to give. We sat there as the sun warmed the desert. No hugs. No dramatic reconciliation, just 5 people sitting with the wreckage of what they'd been and the uncertainty of what they might become. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a beginning. Things changed slowly, painfully, imperfectly. Landon quit his casino job, took a position at the County Emergency Services Office doing logistics work. Every Sunday, he texted me one question about my week. Not demands, not advice, just listening. 3 months in, he asked if he could tour the lab. I said yes. He came on a Tuesday afternoon, dressed carefully, notepad in hand. He watched the dispatchers work. He asked intelligent questions about the Apex algorithm. When Nina told him about a life saved that morning, he teared up. Afterwards, in the parking lot, he said, "I'm proud of you." For the first time in my life, I believed it. Cecilia started therapy, individual and marriage counseling with Landon. She wrote me letters, 1 per week. Not apologies, memories. I remember when you taught yourself Python at 14. I remember being amazed and terrified that you were already smarter than me. I should have said that then. I'm saying it now. I remember when you got into MIT and I asked if you'd consider staying local. I was scared of losing my helper. I didn't think about what I was asking you to give up. I'm sorry. She was building the archive of attention she should have given in real time. One letter just said, "I see you now. I'm sorry I didn't then." I kept every one. Blair lost most of her influencer career. She got a job at an event planning company, not running it, just working there. She went back to school part-time for a business degree. 4 months after Red Rock Canyon, she texted, "Coffee, no cameras, no agenda." We met at a Starbucks near UNLV. It was awkward. We talked about weather, about work. We didn't hug goodbye, but we agreed to try again next month. The second coffee was less awkward. The third, she asked about Apex and actually listened to the answer. The fourth, she told me about struggling in her marketing class, and I helped her study. We weren't close. Maybe we'd never be, but we were trying. Mason changed his major from business to public policy. He wrote a college essay about the sister who raised me and showed it to me before submitting. I cried reading it. He interned at the lab the summer after his junior year. I supervised him, tough, fair, treating him like any other intern. He worked hard, didn't complain, learned. On his last day, he said, "I learned more from you in 3 months than in 20 years at home." Good, I said. Don't forget it. Stud. But I didn't go to family dinners. I hosted Friendsgiving with the lab team instead. I didn't post photos with them on social media. I kept my private life private from them. The family group chat stayed muted. I had coffee with Blair once a month, stiff but real. I let Landon visit the lab quarterly. He brought lunch. We ate in the break room and talked about work. I responded to some of Cecilia's letters, not every week, but sometimes. I let Mason call when he needed advice. It was something. It wasn't everything. Maybe it would never be, but it was mine to control. "11 months after the Ashford Medal, Apex got nominated for a Presidential Innovation Award, presented at the White House. The team was invited to Washington, D.C. I got one guest ticket. My family found out from the news, not from me. The group chat activated for the first time in months. Cecilia: Elodie, I saw the news. Congratulations. So proud. No expectations. Landon: amazing achievement. We're happy for you. Blair: that's incredible, Elle. Mason: you're going to meet the president? No one asked if they could come. No one assumed they should be there. I stared at the messages for a long time. Then I called Landon. Dad, would you want to come to D.C.? Long pause. Me? Yeah, you. Elodie, you don't have to. I know I don't. I'm asking anyway. Another pause. I'd be honored. At the White House, Landon wore a suit I'd helped him pick. He stood in the back during photos, didn't try to center himself. When the president asked, "Who did you bring?" I said, "My father. He's learning to see me." Landon cried. Afterwards, walking through D.C., he said, "Thank you for letting me back in." I haven't, I said honestly. Not all the way. This was one day. I know. I'll take it. I looked at him, grayer than I remembered, tired but trying. Maybe next time, I said slowly. You can bring Mom. Next time? If there is one, and if you keep showing up. He nodded. I will. I promise I will. I didn't fully believe him, but I wanted to, and that was something. 14 months after the Ashford Medal Sunday morning, my apartment in Vegas. I'm making coffee, laptop open, working on Apex 2.0's national rollout. My phone buzzes. James. Brunch at 11? Nina. Bringing my kids to see the lab Tuesday. Can you give the tour? Vivian. New project proposal. Read attached. Thoughts? Email from Mason. Can I cite your research in my thesis? I respond to all of them. Then I look at the framed photo on my desk. Not the medal photo. The one taken the day after the ceremony. My team at the lab, arms around each other laughing. The people who were always there. My phone rings. Landon. Hey, Elle, got a minute? Yeah, what's up? Nothing important. Just wanted to hear your voice. First time he's ever said that. Okay, how was your week? We talk for 20 minutes. About his job, about my research, about Mason's classes, about nothing and everything. When we hang up, I don't know if this will last. I don't know if we'll ever be normal. I don't know if I can fully forgive them, but I know this. I don't need them to matter. I don't need their validation to feel whole. I chose to open the door. I can choose to close it again. And that power belongs to me. I take my coffee to the window. The morning sun is turning the desert gold. Somewhere out there, the city I came home to serve is waking up. Dispatchers are starting their shifts. Ambulances are rolling. Apex is routing them, saving seconds, saving lives. 47 people went home to their families because I taught a computer to think about traffic patterns. 47 families that stayed whole. That's what matters. Not the medal, not the ceremony, not even the family sitting in empty seats. The work, the showing up, the choosing, every day, to be the person who sees the problem and doesn't walk away. My phone buzzes again. Vivian. Lab meeting at 9 a.m. Monday. Don't be late. I smile and text back. Wouldn't miss it. Because the people who really see you don't need a spotlight to know you're there. They just show up, and so do I. Ding